Hello everybody and welcome to another video. And today we're going to be looking at a band I have never heard of before. I got this request through an email from, well, I think it was like a PR company, might have been a record company asking me to have a look. So that's what I'm going to do today. We're looking at a band called Head of the Traitor. Now I like the name of the band, sounds pretty cool. I like the name. So obviously, as is my norm, I tried to do a little bit of research, and what I can tell you about the band is they are a symphonic deathcore band based in Glasgow, Scotland. That's it. That's all I can tell you. I know absolutely nothing about them. That's literally all that I could find. So, there we go. Now, we're going to be looking at a track called The Beginning, featuring Alex Ives. No idea who he is either, so I again did a quick bit of background search, and the only Alex Ives I could find is known by his stage name Specimens, and is an electronic experimental ambient and drone musician of British Jamaican descent, based in London, UK. Now, I don't know if that's the same guy. I don't even know what a drone musician is. What the hell is a drone musician? Anyway, like I said, we're looking at a track called The Beginning. I do have lyrics here. They come from directly underneath the video on YouTube. So we've got that going for us. And yeah, let's jump into this. I have no idea what to expect. Well, I do kind of symphonic deathcore. So yeah, let's have a look, see what we've got. So, The Beginning by Head of the Traitor. Let's have a look. well, there you go. The Beginning by Head of the Traitor. And what can I say about that? I mean, it was heavy as fuck. I can say that much. That was brutal and heavy. It's very interesting, having that sort of real, brutal, in your face, hard hitting music, and then having that weird sort of ethereal electronic music in the background, from the keyboards and stuff like that. It's very unusual. It sounds really good. Very strange. It's quite good. And clearly, all of them very, very talented musicians. The guitars sounded great. Could hear the bass guitar in there. And that bass guitar looks so much like what I used to have that I had to sell when I was made hopeless. It is identical in colour, shape, everything. It looks exactly like my own bass guitar. But anyway, that's beside the point. It all sounded really good. But there were elements of the track which sounded very messy, especially early on in the track. Excuse me. There are points where, the music was flowing along quite well, and then they suddenly sort of changed it up a bit, but it was quite jarring in the way that it transitioned from one bit to the next. So there's that. Now, I think I've mentioned before, I'm not a huge fan of deathcore. But this was very well done, very impressive. The vocal performance was incredibly well. It does include several different styles, including one of the styles that I don't really like, which is where it just sounds like a garbage disposal unit that's gurgling away, and I don't personally like that style of vocal, because you can't understand the thing that's being said. I mean, I even having the words here and reading along, it was hard to actually figure out what was being, what I was listening and what I was reading. It didn't seem to match up because, like I said, it sounded like a gurgling drain. But again, that's just my personal preference. I'm not particularly big fan of that. I prefer, well, the sort of death metal vocals that I myself do, where you can actually hear what's being said rather than a rough estimation of what it is. But again, that's not to take anything away from them, because it was very well performed. The drummer on them is an absolute beast. Some of those blast beats and that double bass work was very, very impressive. As for the actual lyrics, I have no idea if there's any sort of meaning or story behind this. But we'll have a look. There's quite a lot of lyrics as well. It says, let's hold the hands of a rotten corpse. The skin is slipping, it's hard to hold on. Being trusted is a power that's given. The oath of the dead is born. Drinking blood from the ever-giving fountains, the dark sun has become our lord. Playing dead is a sign of weakness. We have become. There's a couple of lines in there that I quite like. I don't know what they actually mean overall in the grand scheme of things, but that being trusted is a power that's given is a great line. Very, very true. You have to earn trust and respect. You don't automatically get trusted by people that you meet. So, I like that. And playing dead is a sign of weakness. I quite like that. Because rather than facing something head on, or fighting back, you're just sort of carrying and taking the easy way out, in a way. I mean, obviously when it comes to maybe, say, coming face to face with a bear, where your best defense is to play dead, I wouldn't necessarily say that's a sign of weakness, because I personally wouldn't fancy taking on a bear head to head, but, I get the general meaning of the line. And then he goes, let's go. I'm the Lord of Rot with a taste to expand the race. Thrombin, designs of evil pulsed into faith, eradicate, exterminate the life of a foreign lie. I have become the beast. It's our life. Now, prothrombin, I had to look up what that was. It's a blood clotting culture from the liver. There you go. That to me just sounds like a random word that's just been thrown in because they know what it is, because it doesn't seem to fit with the rest of the line. You know, a blood clotting culture, designs of evil pulsed into faith. That doesn't make sense to me. The line doesn't make sense, but that's just me. Then it goes into what can only be described as a chorus is, come in and see the sin of isolation. Let's wake up to see the sky in black. Nothing has changed. There is no going back. Death is the sea that is filled with red entrapments all around. Blessed by the cause of broken wills, our purpose can be found. I'm hard from the lack of life, I'm fueled from the way you cry. Ripped apart and begging me, I'm drenched in your sacrifice. Tales of the crypt are reality. Strong in hate is what they say. Tormented beings saying they cannot stay, weak peasants. I have a sick kind of hatred for them. String their veins and open their heads. I said, open. Come in and see the sin of isolation. Let's wake up to see the sky in black. Nothing has changed, and there is no going back. There is no going back. Death in the sea that is filled with red, entrapments all around. Blessed by the cause of broken wills, our purpose can be found. I'm hard from the lack of life, I'm fueled from the way you cry, ripped apart and begging me, I'm drenched in your sacrifice. Let us hold the hands of a rotten corpse, the skin is slipping, it's hard to hold on. Being trusted as a power that's given, the oath of the dead is born. Dead is born. Growing up to find that all humans are the same, my own breed has come to be. Get them on their knees and make them praise my name. The dead is born. Become us. The cacophony of the dead, can you hear their screams? Death in the sea that is filled with red entrapments all around. Blessed by the cause of broken wills, our purpose can be found. I'm hard from the lack of life, I'm fueled by the way you cry, ripped apart and begging me, I'm drenched in your sacrifice. Now, there are a couple of lines there that might give something away as to the actual meaning of the song. I mean, the track is called The Beginning, and this actually sounds like a very brutal but also pretty accurate description of God from his own point of view. Because where is that line? Growing up to find that all humans are the same, my own breed has come to be. Get them on their knees and make them praise my name. Now, the humans were created in God's image, as the Bible alleges, and, get them on their knees and make them praise my name. Praise my name, God. And there's even one of the Ten Commandments which says, I am a jealous God, and, you may only praise me and nobody else, otherwise I will murder you in a gruesomely horrible way. So there are a couple of things in there that suggest that could be a sort of thing against God in itself. There was a couple of other things, but I can't actually find them right now. Yeah. Tales from the crypt are reality. Strong in hate is what they say. Tormented beings saying they cannot stay. Weak peasants. I have a sick kind of hatred for them. String their veins and open their heads. I said open. Again, this is kind of suggestive towards, praise me, I am the one and only God, despite the other several hundred that exist in the world. I am the only real God. If they don't believe me, I hate these people. They are they are evil, they are bad, so string them up, sacrifice them, and, you know, God did... there were lots of sacrifices made towards God, and there were people who were made to kill their own, their own family, their own, brothers, sisters, wives, children, for just to satiate this apparently good deity, God, who is supposed to be the epitome of all good. So that's what it suggests to me. It's a very loose and tenuous sort of link that I have there, but that's the best I can pull from it. But again, like I said, very well performed music, very well performed vocals. Like I said, it's not... deathcore is not really my sort of thing. I don't listen to it very much, but I can appreciate, the skill and the talent that's been put into it. And, this band are very, very, very good at what they do. I wouldn't object to listening to this. It's not something I'd go out of my way to listen to, and that's just purely my personal taste when it comes to metal music. But, as an overall thing, it's very well done, very well executed. There are elements where I think it was a little bit messy, sort of came to a screeching, crashing halt and then suddenly changed in certain places. But, not every track is going to be amazing, but, that they've been... I think they've only been going since 2020, and they've already got, music videos going on. I've been with my band for 2 or 3 years now. We haven't released a video. We haven't released an EP. I mean, my band has released an EP, but that was before I joined. My previous band, I was with them for several years, and they didn't release an album until about 4 or 5 years after I left. So they're obviously doing something right, and they're obviously doing very well for themselves to be progressing this far. So good for them. Good for them, and I hope they meet future success, because they're obviously very good at what they do. But I don't know what else to say to that, so I'm going to leave that as it is. If anybody would like to suggest a track for me to react to, then please do so. By all means, you can drop a comment in the comment section below, or message me on my Facebook or my Instagram, or you could even message me through Patreon, where you could also help to support this channel, which would of course be a massive help to me, since every piece of content I create for this channel gets immediately demonetized, so I make absolutely nothing from anything that I do, which is a little bit frustrating, because I put a lot of time and effort into this. I can understand, the band's getting recognition for me using their material. That's fair enough. But the fact that they get all of it is a little bit galling, because, their music doesn't take up all of the video. But it is what it is. There is an option in Patreon where you can get your suggestion jumped to the front of the queue if you should so desire it. There's a limit on how frequently you can do that, but, that's just to be fair to everybody else who suggest tracks through more regular means like Facebook, YouTube and Instagram comments. And if you do suggest a track through those more regular means, do know it could take me a while to get around to your suggestions, since I do get suggested so many new tracks every single day that my list of tracks just grows so much faster than I can actually record the videos. But I do write down every suggestion I get, so it should get done eventually. It just might take me a while to get around to it. Also, MetalHead Reacts is a proud supporter of the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, a British-based charity whose goal is to put an end to hate crimes, and one of the main facets of that is hate crimes against people of the alternative culture, which is something I believe in very, very strongly, something I'm very, very passionate about, because it's something I've been through personally myself, but it's also something that's very widely ignored, and people treat it as if it's not a real problem. People treat it like it's not an issue, and that's what needs to change, because every day, all around the world, people from the alternative community are getting violently and brutally attacked just purely for the fact that they listen to alternative music. And I'm not just talking about, getting shoulder rammed or, insults thrown at them as they walk down the street. We're talking about real violent crimes where people are getting hospitalized, sometimes with broken limbs and sometimes with even more life-threatening injuries, all over the fact that they listen to different music and wear different clothing. And, you know, this sort of thing, it gets ignored. It sort of gets brushed to the side. You know, every day we hear about all these other hate crimes like sexism, racism, homophobia, transphobia, religious hatred, ableism, etc. We hear these on a daily basis. From the most heinous and violent of these crimes, where someone is murdered because of the colour of their skin, because of their sexuality, or because of their religious beliefs, down to the most petty and pathetic and childish of these offences, where some entitled white woman is calling the police because a family of colour are having a picnic in a public space. We hear these every single day, every facet of, on a daily basis, in every media platform, whether it's TV, written media, or, you know, across the internet. You know, we hear them all the time, but nothing ever gets said about these people from the alternative community who get violently and brutally attacked. The last time there was widespread talk about this was about 15 years ago, when Sophie Lancaster and her boyfriend Rob Maltby were violently and brutally attacked by a group of about 5 or 6 people who beat them, kicked them, punched them, knocked them to the ground and stamped on their heads so violently that they both ended up in comas. Now, Rob Maltby, he did thankfully survive this attack. He was in a coma for around about a week and a half, maybe a little bit longer, but he did thankfully survive. Sophie Lancaster, on the other hand, she was in a coma for 13 days before she succumbed to her injuries and she died. This young woman was 20 years old, was beaten to death by a group of people just purely for the fact that she listened to alternative music and wore alternative fashion. Now, when this happened, this was all over the news, as rightfully it should have been. And, you know, as all things do, over time, it faded away as other news stories came in. But the thing is, in the 15 years since that's happened, we've not heard anything similar in the news. Even though there have been several hundred, if not several thousand, similar incidents in that time. You know, a couple of years ago, a young woman in Glasgow, Scotland, was violently and brutally assaulted, again by a group of 5 or 6 people, beaten, kicked, punched, knocked to the ground, and beaten more. This wasn't in the news. You know, this was a young woman, again, about 20 years old, by herself, violently assaulted by a group of people, but nothing got said. This wasn't all over the TV. This wasn't all over the internet. This wasn't in newspapers and stuff like that. Not a word. If this had been religiously motivated, something would have been said. If this had been racially motivated, something would have been said. If this had been a homophobic attack, something would have been said. But no, this was an assault on someone because they listened to alternative music. Utter silence. But I can guarantee you, if that young woman had been so violently beaten that she had died, like Sophie Lancaster, this would have been all over the news and people would have been crying about what a tragedy it was. That's disgusting. We shouldn't have to wait for someone to lose their life before something gets said. We shouldn't have to wait for someone to die before something gets done. And the thing is, I can guarantee you, if someone had lost their life through an attack like that, people would have been going, oh, this is such a tragedy. Why is this sort of thing happening? The reason it's happening is because everybody ignores it when it does happen. You know, when these attacks happen and nobody loses their lives, everybody's just sort of like, no one cares. As soon as there's a major tragedy, then everybody's all over it like, oh, I always knew this sort of thing was going to happen. But if you knew that was going to happen, why didn't you do something about it, rather than sitting back and waiting for this sort of thing to happen? Because that's just the way it is. As soon as it is a tragedy, everybody wants to jump on the bandwagon and say how bad it is. But when it's just someone getting 10 shades of shit kicked out of them, no one cares. No one wants to say a word. And it's because they just sit there and ignore it that this continues to happen. Something needs to change. Because if we keep ignoring it, it's only a matter of time before what happened to Sophie Lancaster happens again. And that's unacceptable. We can't let that happen. And this is what the Sophie Lancaster Foundation is all about. They want to raise more awareness of the fact that these sort of things are happening. And, you know, that this problem is a lot bigger and a lot worse than people really think it is. They don't want to see another family go through what they went through when they had to watch their daughter slowly die over the course of 2 weeks. They don't want to see somebody else lose their life over something as petty and childish as their taste in music. Something needs to be done, and it needs to be done now, before another person dies. So if you'd like to find out more about the Sophie Lancaster Foundation, there is a link to their website in the description below. You can go over there, find out what they're working on at the moment, find out what their overall goal is, because they can explain it a lot better than I can. And if you can help them out in any small way, obviously don't feel obligated to do so, but if you can help them out in any small way, whether it be a small donation through their website, or even something as simple as one of these Sophie wristbands, or maybe even this one, you know, they've got a whole bunch of other really cool stuff over there as well. You know, the smallest amount can make the biggest difference, and the sooner we bring more attention to this, the sooner we get more people talking about this, the sooner we can help to stamp out prejudice, hatred, and intolerance everywhere. I'm going to leave that as it is for the time being. Thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.